Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Radiant You. I'm excited to be joined by another beautiful guest today. We got Vanessa on the show. We connected a year ago in Mexico. I did a beautiful sound healing, sound water therapy. It was like all the things. She was doing water healing therapy, and then Alec, who we're going to have on the show actually soon too, did sound healing at the same time. It was super cool with my sister, and we just connected ever since, and then met each other again a few weeks ago in Mexico. And I had the privilege to hear her speak on heart coherence and guide the group that I was with through a beautiful heart coherence meditation. And yeah, I just like really resonate with a lot of what Vanessa shares and what she does, because she also, like me, comes from the corporate world, from the 9 to 5, and has found her way to just following her purpose, following her heart, and building something so beautiful, a beautiful business that is wellness and holistic healing focused in Mexico. And yeah, so like me, she also moved from Europe to Mexico, across the world. And so yeah, we connect on a lot of different things, and I'm just so excited to have her on the show today, because one particular topic I would love for her to dive into today for you all is emotional intelligence and AI, and how they're connected, how we as humans are meant to navigate this new world with the just surge of AI and technology taking over so many aspects of our lives. And it's such an exciting time. And yeah, she has a really unique and beautiful perspective on it that I really resonate with. And so I'm excited for her to share that, and also share all about heart brain coherence and, of course, practical tools as always, and how we could actually bring that into our day to day life to lead more from the heart, to really tap into our humanness and what makes us human in this world, and just operate from this more aligned place. So, with that, welcome Vanessa on the show. Please introduce yourself however you feel called, and let's dive right in.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for this conversation. I'm sure it's going to be as exciting as all the conversations that we have had together. And I just love how basically in 1 minute you mentioned all those different topics, the water healing, the heart and brain frequency, then AI, and kind of like from the outside, it could always be like, how is all of that connected and related, right? But yeah, we have an hour together now, or maybe more, 45 minutes. And one promise that I want to do to your audience is that you're going to get the connection. You're going to get it after this discussion. Well, thank you again for opening the opportunity to share, right? Because it's really about that. I believe a lot in sharing the experiences, sharing tools. We're all having so individual path, individual lives, individual struggles, individual revelations, and hearing other people, hearing something that we can resonate with or recognize each other in is so important. At least that's one of my main drivers. So, well, happy to share a little bit about me. In that, you said it really well. I came from the corporate, which is the case of so many of us, and most probably many of the people in the audience too. Was working in Belgium with a super, super good corporate career in different companies. Then my awakening happened basically through hypersensitivity, knowing what hypersensitivity is and what it means. I am hypersensitive to emotions, and I have a very high sensitivity to that. And that was kind of one of the first parts that led me into emotional intelligence afterwards. But yeah, like the awakening happened, I started to quit layer after layer after layer of what are my values? What do I want out of this life? If I'm 80 years old, what am I going to be proud of having done, having been, those things? I just really that huge list, like very, very driven, right? That huge list of things that I just didn't know about myself, and took a weekend with me of, okay, I'm just gonna dive deep and do that. And in a very long story, very short, it was clear to me that sharing well-being, sharing more consciousness, being in contact with cultures, with indigenous knowledge, having a lot of fun, doing fun businesses, traveling, being in nature. All of that was present, but of course I didn't know what it meant by then. And it's kind of striking how our purpose is always in front of you, but it's how we see it and how we interpret it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very quickly after that, I had that vision that led me to Mexico, where it kind of started to deepen, and it gave me the first motivation and desire to, in the beginning, build a center of consciousness that led me eventually to want to build that collective of therapists and that network, that label of trust and of therapy that we are with seeds. But yeah, that's just one thing about among so many others, because alongside the way I evolved also so much, guiding that project, finding myself, finding tools, meditating a lot, starting to understanding, well, the heart. What's happening with that heart? What makes that when I'm meditating with Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations, I connect really deeply in something that just vibrates inside of me? And what is it with that science of the heart? What is it about those frequencies? I just went really deep down the rabbit hole, and came back with a lot of science. I loved it. Super nerdy, super, super nerdy. And
I
that's
love this
actually
so
how,
much because yeah, we both
yeah,
really are such nerds for the science part of kind of
yeah,
energy and spirituality and how it's actually rooted in science because it all is. And so I love that because I'm currently also deep in studying quantum science,
yeah.
like quantum wellness topics. So yeah.
I love that you mentioned that. And I can understand that from the outside, mentioning quantum physics, or it's almost like a new trend, right? I mean, we are in the
Mm.
well-being world, we know that that's kind of like, oh, it's the next level stuff, but it is just the essence of things. And when we're talking about intuition, it is science. When we're talking about quantum physics, it is consciousness. Like, it seems from the outside that those things are separate, but they're just one and the same. And to me, that is so important, and that is just something that drives me, is to make things simple and to make them explainable, and to just help people uncover for themselves that, oh wow, that's why I can get what is happening with another person in front of me. That's empathy. That's what makes that when I enter in a house, I can feel, oh, that's like a super good vibe here, or really not a good vibe. All of that is energy, it's science. And well, let's just not lie about it. Science helps most of the people to bring credibility to some information, and helps them understand and accept it. So I just see it as a way to help humanity now evolve and just grow to what is our essence. It's consciousness and awareness and heart and love as a pure energy.
So beautiful.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
so many rabbit holes we can go down here, but I'd love for you to start sharing kind of bring us down from like the big topic that I know you're so passionate about, which is
yeah.
kind of also how AI plays into
Mm,
how we can now refine our emotional intelligence and why it's even more important than it has ever been before because
yeah.
AI is kind of taking over so many things that our mind does, right? So it's more
Yes.
important than ever that we drop into the heart, that we actually use our emotional intelligence because that's what AI will never be able to replace, right? So
Mm.
you have given a beautiful talk recently at Mexico's Tech Week conference. And yeah, why don't you like share a bit about your perspective on all of that, on AI and emotional intelligence and really the significance of that?
Of course, of course. It's such a wide topic and so easy at the same time. I think we can all agree that so many people around us in media, especially, talk about AI with a lot of fear energy, right? Like fearing AI, it's going to replace, it's going to take your job. And yeah, job means a lot for people, their identity, what they think of themselves, a purpose that they give in their life. So of course, like, it's scary. When you look at it that way, of course, AI is super scary, because if it replaces you as a person, then who are you? What do you serve? And somehow the rise of AI really brings us back to those essential questions that I know we all have inside of us. Sometimes we awaken to it, sometimes soon, sometimes late, but it all comes back to, who am I? Why am I here? And what makes me different from others? Or what is my thing? What is my purpose? What do I serve? Those questions. So in an age or in an area that, yeah, AI can think better than we do, it can predict better than we do, it can execute much better than we do, and much faster, just much faster, then it really brings us down to, well, then if it has a much better IQ than I do, if it can do all those things that I was doing, then who am I? And I really like to mention an example of, yeah, take a chief technology officer that has, or somebody just in tech or working, that has spent 10 years of its life in a job or even inventing something. And then from a day to another, you have an AI or a technology that is developed and that can do that much faster, much better in a month. Who do you think you are then? What's your identity if you are not that person anymore? What do you value if it's not your time and your job? So it forces us actually to look inside ourselves and to look at, what am I really passionate about? Okay, I'm good at thinking, I'm good at planning, I could be a super good coordinator, manager, like, great, but in the real essence of, who am I when I'm going to sleep? Who am I when I'm in trouble? Who am I when I'm dreaming? Those things, it raises us to those questions. I like to break it down in a very simple ways, as if AI is a much better mind that we have ever had or will ever be. But if we are not our mind, then what are we? And it forces us to, well, look at all those other capacities that we have, those skills, those natural capacities that we have as humans that we can feel. We are feeling a range of emotions, like, all the time. When you wake up, you're feeling something. When you're talking to somebody, you're feeling something. Whether you want to accept it or not, you're always feeling something. It can be pride, it can be inspiration, it can be joy, it can be happiness, it can be frustration, it can be anger, it can be sadness, it can be disappointment. And just the range is so wide. But nobody taught us that. It's not in school that, like, at least for me, I didn't learn about all that range of emotions in school, right? So those emotions, and it doesn't, like, my point is not to say that you have to know the whole dictionary of emotions, but it's more, what is your own what is your own experience, right? When you are feeling something, how can you own it, and how can you share it better with somebody else? How can you lead with that? If you're good with your emotions, if you're good with understanding what happens inside of you and communicating that with others, if you know that an emotion is temporary and that you can have the power to bring yourself back into the state that you choose out of really conscious awareness, then you get power over yourself back. Because it's really about that. It's about getting our power back, our ownership back, owning our decisions and choosing for our lives. I'm actually getting chills now that I'm telling you that, but it's really that. And I know you wanted also us to talk about the heart coherence. That is what heart coherence is about, right? It's about just developing all those, let's call them human tools, emotional intelligence, the courage of emotions, understanding and owning your energy, the intelligence of your heart. All of that are knowledges or tools that are just about, okay, how can I own my life from A to Z? How can I choose out of the values that I want to support, the things, the dreams that I want to achieve, the person that I want to be and that I already am, by the way. But how can I choose out of that and have radical ownership and responsibility about that, like really owning ourselves and not depending on a boss to tell us what to do, a bank to tell us if we can or not build the dream of our the house of our dreams, a government that decides what we have to eat and how we have to learn things and what is allowed and what is not allowed. Like, come on, that's we all know that that's not working, right? It's not for the peace of people. There is more stress than ever. How can that be for the peace? So all of that to me and the rise of AI, to come back to that topic, is about, well, okay, something else is coming to challenge us, is coming to be a mirror to ourselves of who are
Mm.
we, and well, if we don't know who we are, how can we start to really find our way in that and help each other as humanity? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I
it.
mean, that's it. I love this topic so much. So many questions, but I think yeah, such a big point I want to drive home with this is that, don't let AI like discourage you. I feel like there's like
Mm.
there's a big shift right now happening that I'm feeling and sensing, at least kind of in all the conversations and like, just different environments and groups that I've been in. And also what I'm seeing through others, there's like a shift happening of more and more people in this world, like having those types of questions for themselves of like, who am
Yes.
I? What do I want out of this life? What is my purpose here? Right? Because as technology, AI changes our world so quickly at such a fast pace.
Mm.
Yeah, these questions, it's like quantum leaps, I feel like, that we're
Yes.
taking as humanity right now. And I'm sensing, yeah, there's a big shift happening. Like there's more and more conversations like this happening,
Mm.
more people that are having awakenings, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
like just, and whatever awakening means to you. I mean, it can be such a loaded world in the spiritual world. It's like, oh, a spiritual awakening, like everyone like kind of
Yeah.
just talks. It's become a little bit of a buzzword, but it's in the sense of like you're waking up to the fact that um, there's more to this life than being on autopilot, than
Yes.
being on, like, someone else's journey, on than being led and driven by your conditioning from childhood, right? Like, just kind of waking up out of the autopilot mode that
Mm.
that we all, like, often come into throughout, just conditioning, things that we've
Yeah.
grown up with, trauma, past experiences that have shaped us and that have, just put all these layers
Totally.
on us. You
Yes.
mentioned at the beginning, like shedding the layers is the work of awakening, of coming back to ourselves, of finding out who we truly are. It's like shedding those layers. But yeah, there's so many people who are starting to peel back layers and that are
Mhm.
starting to become more aware of what this life really is about. And just, yeah, it's like a raising of like consciousness really as
Yeah.
humanity that is just so present right now. And yeah, I think AI plays and technology plays such a big role in almost accelerating that, because it's like we have no
It does.
choice.
Exactly. It really does. You mentioned it so perfectly that the pace and the acceleration of AI, of technology is just fastest every day. And that brings us into change every day. Faster, more new things, more change, more questioning, more fast questioning of that famous mirror, like just in front of
Yeah.
us. And I was actually talking about it with a very nerdy and very conscious, like those two extremes that are exactly the same, um, friend. And he was telling me, like, yeah, like predictions of technology is just going to go faster and faster and faster. And to me, the point that I want to make with this is, yeah, change is going faster. And it's all about how do you look at change? How do you build the tools to surf on change, to know what to do with change? The mind, our brain, is an amazing tool, but it is not everything. It is not everything that we are. It's technically, I know the numbers differ, I like to say 5. It's technically 5% of our whole energy, our whole electromagnetic field. It can do great things, but it's limited. And we have access to so many more tools to navigate those areas. I was actually very happy and proud of myself of a kind of parallel that I found when I recorded the podcast on heart coherence that we just talked about before starting recording. Is, well, when you drive a boat on a lake or a small bark on a lake, you're a great captain, right? But that same captain is not equipped to sail in an ocean. It's exactly the same with the mind and with the heart. The mind serves some things, but to navigate change, to navigate evolution, to navigate awareness, to navigate awakening, to navigate yourself, you need to know how to listen to the heart, take decisions from that place together with the mind, right? Both serve their purpose. But how can we tap more into a leadership from the heart, leading with the heart and from the heart? And how can we really know how it works? Just the same way as we learned alphabet, we learned to count. Well, how can we know how to use the heart? Heart coherence is a great tool, but the science and the intelligence of the heart is just needed. We cannot
Yeah.
navigate change, uncertainty, and all of that is going to be more and more and more present in our lives, especially as we awaken, because the more you awaken, the more you start to doubt things about who you thought you were and more who you are.
Yeah.
And it's scary, Anna. It's super scary for all
Yeah.
of us. It is scary. You know what you're leaving, but you don't know where you're heading. So how it's impossible to rely on the mind for that, because the mind is just made by thoughts, and thoughts are mostly coming from our past, right? So when you're shaping a new future, how how can you navigate it with just your mind? It is just not possible. It would be insane to want that. It would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you frame that because yeah, it's just so important more than ever that we learn how to use those 95% of other
Yeah.
resources and tools that we are made of as humans, right? Like you said, like of course the mind, the brain, it's important. Like it's not like we're saying, "Oh, let AI take over all your thoughts." No, like we still, we still need, but it's about connecting brain and heart. It's about using the mind, like not just relying and identifying with
Yeah.
the mind and our thoughts so much, which I know, so many of us still live in the mind. Like, I mean, it's the most common experience and it's actually most people that come to me like for coaching or into my world, it's because they feel like they're always overthinking everything. They're in the mind
Mm.
constantly, they're disconnected from their body, from their emotions, and that's the experience for so many of us, and it's also how I, got into this world because that was the case for me as well. I was just constantly in the mind and the mind, and it gets you stuck, it gets you in that place of like, what is even happening, and the fears and the doubts and the spiraling and all of that. And so
Yeah.
it's such a potent time to be able to learn how to drop more into the body, how to drop more into the heart, and what that means for how we can show up differently in our day to day life. And again, it doesn't have to say like, your mind isn't important, it's important, but like you said, it's 5%, and
Yeah.
I also remember you mentioned a quote before when we chatted of like, the heart and brain, they're constantly communicating. And I talk about this too a lot when I talk about somatics, right? There is a mind body connection, and there's
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
constant, which is like similar to that basically. It's like a constant connection and communication back and forth. And what you said is actually I'm not sure about the exact number, but 3 times more
Yeah.
signals are sent from the heart to the brain compared to from the brain to the heart. So think about
Yes.
that. Like the heart sends way more signals, way more information to your brain versus the other way around. So
Yeah.
like your heart informs your thoughts. So why don't we start there if that holds like 3 times the power essentially. Our heart holds
Mm.
3 times the power. And
And even
yeah,
more.
I would love for you
Even
to
even
even
more.
more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even more. even more.
Yeah.
I like, let's talk numbers, right? And I know that there are tons of numbers.
Let's this is the
But
this is
yeah,
the episode to drop the numbers, to drop the science. We're
yeah,
getting
let's go
into
there.
it.
let's go let's go in that other rabbit hole. Yeah, before talking more about the heart, one thing that I wanted to mention that is so important with the mind is just we have to see it from the perspective that our brain just wants to protect us, right? Our brain wants certainty.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it serves. It serves a lot of things, but it wants to protect us from the famous like tiger that is going to come and
Mhm.
attack you, like that what most of the people talking about trauma and the reaction of our nervous
Yeah.
system talk about. But the brain just wants certainty. So it means that when we are experiencing resistance to something, when we are experiencing change, of course, brain is going to be like, no, don't go there, please don't go there. That's
Yeah.
not good for you. That's not good for you. It's just its role. There is nothing good or bad about it. We like to label it as good or bad, but there is nothing good or bad. It serves its purpose. Now, does that mean that we actually didn't need to go to that change, or that change was not something good for us and beneficial for us? That's another story. We really have to separate the interpretation that we make of just how the brain works and all that famous 95% of stored energy, wisdom, information that we can tap into in complement with the brain. And yeah, I mean, of course, you mentioned the heart. I love to talk about the heart, and to me, it's brain and gut and body and heart. Is just really understanding all of that, and specifically about the heart. Yeah, the research is indicating that the heart is sending 3 times more electric signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart. We kind of know also from what we learned in school that the brain has neural pathways, right? You have all those connections. The heart has them too, and that is something that we didn't know. We have learned that the heart is a pumping machine and that it pumps blood, but it actually has its own neural network and much more powerful, those famous 3 times more signals. But on top of that, and that's the interesting thing, on top of that, the brain and the heart just don't work the same way. If you put some probes on your brain, or if you go to the hospital for a brain scan, for example, you're going to be able to capture the electric signals and the activity of the brain. But once that you take all those probes out of the brain, it just doesn't capture the information anymore. You can't read the electric activity of the brain when you don't have the probes really touching it. With the heart, when you put a probe a few meters away from the body and the heart, that same probe can capture the electric activity and the heartbeats and the heart rate, so the information that it sends from the heart. So on top of the amount of electric signals that it's sending that are more powerful and more in quantity than the heart also has another function, is that it's working as a magnet. It's magnetism. That's why when you put a probe so far away from the body, that probe can still read the activity of the heart. That is why sometimes when you approach a person, it's not that you can read or you cannot read what is happening with that person. We can all do that, but some of us have it already naturally or have worked with it a little more and are more sensitive to that. But you can read what is in the field of that person just because there is magnetism going on. And that's where science becomes so important to understand. That's where frequencies become so important to understand. Because when you start to understand that everything in energy, every energy is frequencies, waves of energy vibrating and oscillating at a certain frequency, every frequency is an information. When you listen to a beat that is at 400 hertz, you're not going to hear the same as if it is 800 hertz. That is because the information is different. And it's just the same for us. So whatever is coming as information on the heart, whatever the heart is capturing from what is happening outside you, how you feel. Do you feel stressed? Do you don't feel stressed? Are you like in alert of what is happening around you or not? The heart is just capturing all those internal and external informations and is kind of signaling that out. But on top of that is like a magnetifying. So whatever you think, you say, how you act and how you feel, all those frequencies, all that energy, all those different frequencies, either they are in coherence, either they are in incoherence, but the one or the other, that's what your heart is going to help magnify and amplify and diffuse into your field. So that is also, well, what is attracting your reality, what is happening for you,
Right.
what is materializing for you. That's how important the brain is.
Mm.
It's that's how important the heart is.
The heart
That's
is,
the
yeah.
thing. Yeah, brain too. We don't want to
Yeah.
forget it. But the heart is just so important. It's not only about
Yeah.
love
That's
and being kind. It's just very powerful.
Yeah, that's where manifestation comes in, right? And I've talked
Yeah.
about embodied manifestation before on the podcast, which, really is about it's actually so much more powerful to get into alignment and attract from your body, from your heart versus the
Mhm.
mind, right? We try to like do the whole manifestation practices at the vision boards and thinking about the thing, visualizing it, imagining it, writing about it, journaling about it, saying the affirmations. That's all mental,
Mhm.
but the brain is actually so much less powerful to manifest our reality than compared to our body and to our heart. Like you said, like
Yeah.
it has the magnetism is actually in our heart. So how can we, attract like bring that into the frequency that we want to attract? And that's
Yeah.
when we actually shift our reality towards what we desire. And of course there's so much more nuance to it, but just that on the manifestation topic, because yeah, I think that's also what so many people just like overestimate the power of the brain and underestimate the power of the heart. And I think
Mhm.
we're in this season of just like, yeah, unlearning that and
Yeah.
actually shifting that perspective and coming to understand, as again, like we talked about, as technology takes over so much of the thinking and the analysis and
Yeah.
the mental stuff for us, which is amazing, for so many things, so that we
Mm.
can focus more on what makes us so unique as humans, which is the heart, which is focusing on leading from the
Yeah.
heart, from attracting from the heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'd love for you to speak a bit on, well, first of all, like what does let's talk about heart coherence, because I feel like
Yeah.
we brought it from like, okay, we get why it's important to lead from the heart, to learn how to bring coherence there, like the heart coherence, the importance of that, because there's just so much power to leading from that space, and we need to learn how to connect mind and heart in that way to lead from our emotional intelligence more, as
Yeah.
technology takes over so much of our mental load. So now, like, let's talk about, okay, what does coherence even mean? You talked a bit about the frequencies,
Yeah.
energies. We can definitely go there a bit, but then also like bringing it down to, okay, what does this mean for day to day? Like how can we, what are some practices, right?
Mhm.
So let's bring it down to that. Let's talk about heart coherence and what that
I
actually
love
means.
it. Thank you for the specificity because we can just keep on talking about it during hours. Heart coherence is a very practical tool, right? It's a very simple, short, practical tool used used in a guided meditation. That's the way that we can use it. But heart coherence itself is more a state. It's a state in which you bring yourself, and in that state, your brain and your heart are entering into an alignment, a coherence of frequency. So it means that your mind, your emotions, your energy are all aligned and in coherence. Now, that, again, that brings us back to the word coherence. And what does it mean? We briefly touched about quantum physics, about energy, and basically, when you want to understand things and the cells and your body and everything that is material around you, and that you break it down to the smallest particle that ever exists, that's where the word quantum comes from. That's the smallest particle ever is a quantum. And then a quantum, well, is just a lot of energy, like 99.9999% of energy of nothingness. It's viciousness energy, and 0.0001% of matter. What it means with that in very, very practical ways is just that there is a lot of energy around us. And when we talk about energy, it directly comes to frequency, what we meant. Like energy is filled, the space is filled with frequencies that are information. So I know that we're on the podcast, so people can't see me showing on the video right now. But most of you have probably seen also from sound, or if you drop a drop of water in a lake, you can either have like very, very, very close circles or very wide circles. So different frequencies with a big or short amplitude, a big or short wavelength, like very, 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 very fast or very slow that way. And basically all those different frequencies, 400 hertz, 600 hertz, 800 hertz, when they're aside of each other and you have one wave oscillating at a certain frequency that is different than the other one, nothing really happens. Like both of them are just living their life independently. But when you have two waves of energy, two waves that oscillate at the same frequency, what happens naturally, that's a phenomenon, a scientific phenomenon, is that they attract each other, they come into coherence. So it means that's what we mean with aligning really scientifically, energetically, your brain and your heart into coherence. When they enter in coherence, of course, that is also what is going to come, because you're aligning your brain and your heart. That is also what is going to come out in your field, because remember, the heart works as a magnet. So the more coherent you are, and by definition, by attraction, that is also what you're going to attract. The more coherent you are, the more powerful and the more coherent is the information in your field, is your system, because we're talking now about the electromagnetic field, but let's talk very practically your organs. When you have dis-ease, incoherence, a lack of ease, it's just because there is incoherence in some of your organs. That's how you get sickness. And to go back to heart coherence, just the fact of bringing your brain and your heart into that state, it can be like, oh, okay, so cool. Now my brain and my heart are aligned. And so what, you know? But there is just a lot that is happening in your biology and biochemically. There are more than 3,000 biochemical reactions that are happening just in 5 minutes. Actually, 3 minutes even. Doing the exercise during 3 minutes brings your brain and your heart into coherence, unlocks a cascade of biochemical reactions, and that same coherence that is coming from your brain and your heart, well, guess what? It brings your nervous system into coherence. Mm-hmm. It brings your immune system into coherence. It brings your hormonal system into coherence. So your stress is in coherence. Your cortisol gets lower. Your nervous system is not under is entering and connecting more to homeostasis, so you can start to see clear, feel clear, take better decisions, communicate another way. So I like to bring it back to really that sense of, okay, super cool. It's easy when others and the outside decide for us, right? It's just so much easy. But is it what is good for us? Honestly, no, not always, because we know for ourselves. So when you know tools like heart coherence that are super short, super effective, that help your physical body, that help your emotional body, that bring coherence in your whole body and in your field, that you can start to take decisions from that coherent place, well, you get a real ownership of yourself as a person. And guess what? That's what you're going to attract. So it also means that there's going to be more coherence in your life, other type of people coming in. And yeah, just a very, very last thing. And I'm always so surprised and so grateful to hear that is most of the time people are practicing heart coherence without me even knowing it, you know, like I put it out on Spotify, like, you know, I'm a bit nerdy with that. And I just put it everywhere, the yoga classes, the water therapies. I just bring everybody into heart coherence. But just last week, I was talking with a person that I know and met him in an event, and he was like, "Hey Vanessa, like by the way, so I was out of a breakup, and I've been doing that heart coherence meditation because you know what? It's just 5 minutes. Like it doesn't take me like half an hour. It's just 5 minutes, and it has helped me so much." And it just made
Mm,
me feel peaceful, and it gave me a little bit of hope when I felt that my heart was so broken. Those are the kind of
mm.
things that we hear, right? And I mean, change is scary. AI is scary. Evolving is scary. Leaving what we know is scary. So, if you want to connect to something that at least makes you feel good and you know that is also going to help you navigate that, well, heart coherence is just a very good way.
Yeah. It's so beautifully said. And yeah, to just like put it in other words again for people to just get an example of what that means is really like coherence in that way between brain and heart. It just really tangibly means that your thoughts are matching your actions, are
Mm-hmm.
matching your emotions and your internal just reality and how you feel about your life, yourself, right? Are matching your external reality and what, you have and do and be in your life and who you're surrounded by, right? It's just kind of like those we're all multidimensional beings and coherence when we bring that from the inside out, it means that those things are in alignment. The mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, which is, our purpose, connecting to meaning in life, it's alignment and coherence between those dimensions, right? Because so many times, I guess maybe you can also give an example of like what it could feel like for people when things are not in coherence. It could mean
Mm,
that, you have maybe super anxious thoughts all the time and, there's just like a mismatch between what you're thinking and where your mind goes
yeah.
versus, what your actions or how you're feeling things. And it could even be the opposite around. Like maybe, you're always feeling this like fear and but in your mind you're like, oh, but I want this so bad, and like I feel like I know what I need to do, but somehow I have this fear and it keeps me blocked, it keeps me stuck, right? There's an incoherence between your emotional world and your brain and your mind. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you have an example to just give people, yeah, like basically just an example of what that could look like when things are not in coherence versus that this is
Mm,
the whole point of why we want to create that coherence so that we can bring this harmony. That's actually how I
mm,
see it. I like the word harmony with it, right? Like we all want harmony in our lives. We
yeah.
don't want to be pulled in different directions and just have these contradicting and internal conflicts, right? I think that's another
Yes.
way to describe incoherence when there's internal conflicts and we have these different parts within us that are just kind of fighting against each other. It's like, I
Mm,
want this thing, but somehow I'm self sabotaging myself here all the time. Like, I want the healthy relationship, but like part of me keeps like, you know, I don't know, like, controlling the person or whatever patterns we have and
yeah.
sabotaging it. So I can't hold on to it. And so there's these inner conflicts that happen when we're not in this coherence. And so that is why it's so important and so powerful. And like you said, I love that it really only takes 3 minutes, like a 3-minute
Yeah.
practice. And if you've
Yeah.
been listening, you all know I'm all for the simple tools, for how we can bring this into our day to day in simple ways. And this is
Mhm.
such a good one because it really shifts how you show up. It brings you more and more into that aligned, coherent state where you can really come from your heart, your body, and see more clearly in a way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you have a couple more examples before we dive into the practice because I would love for people to obviously, understand the practice and yeah, tune in for that.
Of course. Of course. There were a few things that were coming to me when you were sharing now, and really thank you for that. What is incoherence? Well, incoherence is stress. Incoherence is
Mm,
acting or thinking out of a place of, but why do I even think that? Or why do I choose to think that, because in the end, even our thoughts, and that is not an easy way, right? It's not easy what I'm
Yeah.
going to say, but even our thoughts, we choose to leave space to our thoughts or not. And actions, I think it really all comes down to, why do we do things and why do we let some things happen? A very practical example of incoherence would be, you were talking about manifestation, right? And like visualizing with the mind, imagining with the mind what I want and how I want it and all the details and everything. But inside of you, the feeling, because we could talk about the actions, but the feeling would be that you don't feel that you're worthy of that, or you
Yeah.
don't feel that you are allowed to get that, or because of reason X, Y, Z, because, for example, your parents were working a lot and that was the scheme in which you were born, then you have that belief that you have to work a lot in life to be successful, and you don't allow yourself to just do nothing, for example. So imagine a life, and I think that is going to resonate with many people, a life where you work, like in between brackets, that's what I'm showing on the camera, by the way, for the people that are listening. But you work 2 hours a day, you are relaxing, you are enjoying your life. You can go and jump in the ocean or have a walk outside in the street of your neighborhood if that's what you want. But inside of you, unconsciously, it doesn't match, it's not coherent, because you think, because you have seen that from your parents, that you have to work a lot in order to be successful and recognized and accepted and loved and belonging to something. So that would be an example of incoherence. I'm not saying that there is something wrong with that. I'm just saying that practicing heart coherence or wanting coherence is amazing. It's just really setting the tone. It's a setting the tone that is actually opening doors to you. And in those doors are the real you. So that
Yeah.
really comes down to then, okay, but why do you really want? Why do you want that vision that you have just broken down on a vision board? Or is that belief still yours? Or is there something else with that? So I know that before starting the podcast, we also talked about courage, and I talked about it in my conference about human intelligence and artificial intelligence. Man, emotional courage is just so important, because all those things, self-work, self-awareness, looking at oneself, is scary. It asks you to maybe not know things about yourself, to rediscover things about yourself. Whereas we all show up outside like knowing exactly what we're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. But like it asks you to look inside yourself. It asks you to be very, very honest with yourself also. And all the doubts, all the anxiety, all the fears that we have, rejection, fear of talking, fear of saying something, that's just part of human life. Like there is no day that I don't feel anything like that. I'm sure that is the same for you. It's the same for leaders and managers. It's the same even if you're not leading teams. It's just part of our emotions, just like all emotions. The thing is, most of the time, what we have done is there is kind of like a demonization of those fears. So like, you should not feel fear, or fear is not good, or you
Mm.
should not doubt. You have to know where you're going. Well, guess what? Doubt is part of the human life. But what I mean with that is that we have get used, and it's also easier to avoid them, to not feel that fear. And it's really uncomfortable to feel that way, because you just don't know, your whole system is in alert. What is going to happen? I'm gonna die, nobody's gonna like me, I'm gonna finish alone. Like, that's just how stressed the body and the mind can be when we fear something. Same with anxiety, same with doubts. So the courage of the emotion is really becoming essential, especially when we start to talk about coherence, ownership, connecting to purpose, because it's gonna be, that's a guarantee, it's gonna be scary. There's gonna be doubts, there's gonna be anxiety, there's gonna be not knowing what to answer when people ask you, hey, like, what you doing? So developing that courage to feel all the emotions and to know how to act when you're feeling that way is as essential as a dictionary. That is the
Yeah.
new dictionary. There is a
Yeah.
quote that I really
I
love that says that when you can feel everything, you can do anything. And
Oh,
that's it.
I yes.
When you
I
can
love
feel
this so
everything, you
much.
can do anything.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all we're running away from, all we're afraid of is a sensation, is an emotion in our
Mhm.
body,
Exactly.
right? Because there's
Yeah.
no future. We were like making up these future scenarios that we're afraid of that haven't even happened. But at the end of the day, yeah, what we're afraid of, what we're always running from
Yeah.
is an emotion, is an uncomfortable sensation in the
Yeah.
body
And
because that's what
running
it's
away
all
from it,
about. And
yeah,
or towards, right? Or towards, right? Or what we're
exactly.
craving, what we're seeking is also the same thing. It's like an emotion.
Mhm.
We're looking for the good feeling all the time. We're looking for
Yeah.
that. We want to run towards that. We're chasing that, even though sometimes we think we chase the material things. We want the job, we want the house, we want the partner. At the end of the day, what we truly want is that good feeling, and how it makes us
Yeah.
feel is love,
Exactly.
is feeling that sensation of love in our body, of joy, of bliss, of presence.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of what we're running from is the uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty, of fear. And so like, yeah, even like it brings it full circle to what we started with, right? It's the most uncertain time right now. There's just like changes
Mhm.
happening so fast. And so yeah, we're wired to want to stay certain, to be certain, to
It's
be stay
natural.
in the familiar. It's
It's so
natural.
natural.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why it's just more important than ever that we learn to be with the uncomfortable emotions and have that
Yes.
emotional courage, because that allows us, like you said, I love that quote, to do anything. Because when we can feel anything, when we can hold ourselves in the fear, in the grief, in all of the depth of the emotions of the heavy ones, like
Yeah.
then yeah, once we learn how to hold ourselves in that, we're like, "Oh, I can do that. Like I can move through that and I know it passes." And yeah, I talk about this on the show a lot too. So if this is your first one listening, you can go back to I think it's episode 4 or so where I really talk about how to truly feel and process emotions and learn this
Mhm.
process of like actually yeah, letting them move through us rather than holding on to them, and how that can
Yeah.
create so much more ease. But yeah, I
There are a bunch
love
of
how that
tools
brings
for
it all
emotional
together.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
There really are a bunch of tools. I think it's for anyone listening to us. It's just know it's natural, it's normal, it's human not to want to feel that. We're not saying that,
Yeah.
oh wow, like you're nowhere in life just because you're still fearing something. No, like I'm fearing
No.
things every day. Would it be a conversation, a situation I want to avoid? I just know that the answer is not there, and that it's there to teach me something. And most of the time when we have the courage to stay into it, to get to know ourselves through that, and to take an action and just to take a step, well, just behind that is just a very, very magical happening most of the time. When we have the courage to do that step, do the thing that matters, to have that conversation, to stop doing something that we were doing, again, not saying that it's easy, but feasible, yes. When we have the courage to, it's just magic on the other side. It is just magic, and it is so worthy. And the more that you're going to do it, the more that you're going to see yourself and experience yourself, that just behind that step, that super scary step, is magic. And it's actually going to become like a carrot, like, oh wow, there is fear.
Yes.
Go, I'm going. Maybe in 10 years,
Yes.
in 10 years time, we can all live that way. I hope so.
True. Yes. Oh, such a beautiful reminder. Yes. Yeah. It really yeah, it's so important, and it's a muscle, right? Like you said, like it's a practice.
Hmm.
It's a muscle you
Yeah.
got to continue to flex to practice that courage, to lean into the fear, the uncomfortable emotions a little bit more and a little bit more, and it
Yeah.
will get easier over time. And yeah, there's just so much beauty on that side when we learn to live that way, because yeah, if we're not,
Yeah.
like we mentioned before, that's the stuckness, it's the frustration when we just try to operate from the mind and suppress the emotions and kind of run away from the discomfort, from the uncertainty. Like that's when we kind of fall into the spirals. That's what ultimately creates dis-ease in our body, right? Whether
Exactly.
it's on the physical level where it ultimately manifests, or whether it's, mentally and kind of the internal conflicts and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I love the heart coherence. It's truly such an important and simple tool. So,
It
let's get
is.
into the practice. Can you break down for us? So, for people now, we know the importance, we know the benefits of heart coherence to harmonize the heart and the brain and the impact this truly has, not just on your life. And I want to emphasize that actually also, like, it's on everyone around you, right? It's gonna allow you to have more fulfilling, more intimate relationships. It allows you to
Yes.
feel more fulfilled in your day-to-day life, to be more present with your loved ones, to make more meaningful connections, to, yeah, find go after the career, the job, the work that you really desire, that you're passionate about, to share your gifts freely and not hold back anymore, to not be stuck, but just to flow with life more
Yeah,
rather than
exactly.
fighting it, rather than pushing, rather than coming from a place of force or always being in a space of fear and doing out things out of fear. So it truly has these benefits all across all areas of your life and of your physical health too, right? Ultimately, we know on this
Mhm.
podcast it's all connected. So,
It
yeah, it
is
impacts your
exactly
physical
the
health
same.
and your body and how you feel, right, on a day-to-day. So, with that being said, walk us through the steps of your amazing 3-minute practice. I have actually just done it this morning and it's so special. So, walk us through it. We love steps on here. We love the practical ways. So, break it down
Of
for us.
course. Of course. Well, for any person listening right now, and if you are in a home or in a safe place, you can also put pause on the podcast and go on the Human Technology and Heart Intelligence one, which is my
Yes.
podcast. You're going to find it in French, in Spanish, in English also, of course. So if you want to, you can put pause right now and go practice and come back to us just after to listen what magic actually happens, because it's really
Yes, we
magic.
will link it. I will link
Yeah.
it in the show
Oh,
notes too for
yes.
you, that episode, so that way you can
Hmm.
go and have
Yeah.
it guided. But yeah.
And yeah, just to understand the magic of it, because again, like heart coherence is a state, right? So what we're going to talk about right now is how can you bring your brain and your heart into an energetic coherent state, a coherence between your emotions, your mind, your heart, and just everything inside you. It's a very, very, very simple technique. Again, it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes that you have to stay in a certain state. And to reach that state, you want to combine 3 steps. So, not only two, not only one, 3 steps are essential, and they're all components of how you can bring yourself into coherence. The first one, and if you listen to the guidance, you're going to hear myself invite you to touch your chest and to bring your hand over your heart. That is essential. If you're leaving your hand at a certain moment, of course, you're going to feel relaxed, but you're not going to bring your brain and your heart into coherence, which is what we want here. When you touch your body, when you touch your heart, and think about it, all those ancient traditions, the Buddhists with their mudra, they had their thumb touching their chest. The Mayas had their hand on their heart. They're all touching their body, because what happens when you're touching the body is that you're calling in all those famous 95% of energy. You're calling in your unconscious. So instead of thinking what you're feeling, what happens is that you're really feeling, and you're
Yeah.
really just tapping into, well, the feeling, not thinking that you're feeling something. So you're shifting the energy from the thinking mind to the feeling heart. So the first step of heart coherence is to bring your hand over your heart and to keep your hand present there, to really bring all the attention that you have to that zone. Then we're gonna invite the breath in, and the breath is always going to be the same one, is the ratio that fits you, but just exhaling longer, deeper than usual. It doesn't really matter that you're breathing in 2 and exhaling in 5, or breathing in 3 and exhaling in 6. That doesn't really matter. You do what's comfortable for you. But what you do want to do is exhale longer than what you inhale. And that's for two principal reasons. First, when you're exhaling that way, you're tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation. But also, and that's the one that I prefer, is it's really a hacking, like a biohack. Think about it, the only moments that you feel safe, the only moments that you're breathing that way, for example, when you're home and you observe that you're really exhaling longer, is most of the time when you feel safe. When you are in a place that you're safe, you know that there is no danger coming, no awkward situation, you feel safe. Those are the only moments that we allow ourselves to finally exhale. So by doing it ourselves and by automatically exhaling or longer than we inhale, what we're doing is we're saying to our system, hey, see, I'm in a safe situation because I'm breathing that way. So when you do that, it has an amazing cascade of effects. For example, our immune system, it's really binary. It's either it's activated, either it's silent and sleeping. So it's a 1-0, it's a yes, no, black, white type of reaction. And when you're not safe, the immune system is not working. As simple as that. It is not working. Stress, for example, cannot be regulated. When you feel stressed, your immune system and the immune response cannot happen. It just cannot happen. So the immune response is only happening when you are safe. So that's why heart coherence also helps your immune system, hormonal system, nervous system. It's because you're breathing a certain way. So you want to touch your body, you want to breathe that way. For the ones that have already followed the guidance a few times, you know that it's breathing longer, deeper, slower than usual. And yeah, the last point is that you want to connect, to call in a higher emotions like joy, gratitude, the care that you can feel for a person or that you receive, compassion. It doesn't have to be complicated. Don't think about it, but feel it. How does it feel when a person cares for you and gives you a big hug? When you see that face of that friend and that you know that you're safe with that person? How do you appreciate that cup of coffee that you can have every morning? How do you appreciate your dog smiling and happy to see you? Like, it can really be very, very personal, but those feelings of appreciation, of care, of gratitude, what are the memories and the situations that make you feel that way? And just to stay in that emotion, in that high vibration emotion. By combining those 3 steps, what is happening is that that frequency is actually the frequency that is as base of the coherence. So your brain and your heart enter in coherence based on that high frequency. So that is also what is coming out again in the field, how you think, how you feel. That is actually mastered through the heart coherence. But then, of course, it's also going to influence how you act after that, how you talk after that. You were talking about harmony. Yes, heart coherence is so important because it brings us back physically, mentally, emotionally into a state of harmony. But also that harmony directly impacts our relationships. So you can do your heart coherence. Again, it's 3 minutes before a conversation with your boss, with an employee, with your loved ones when you are facing a conflict. It's really an awareness of from which place do I want to come in my interactions, from a place of harmony or not, and how can I either just pause and wait to be in that state before interacting with others, or how can I just bring more harmony and with that intention go to others? That's why it's so impactful and helpful. It's because it's changing you. And yeah, a very important thing also, it's not because you're gonna take your hand off your body that it's going to stop. The research and scientific research shows that all that cascade, those biochemical reactions, that cascade of effects that it had in your body, stay in the body for at least 6 hours. So it's actually like a
Wow.
pharmacy, you have built your own pharmacy. Yeah, that's how impactful and
That's
powerful it is.
amazing. Wow. Yeah, I invite
Yeah.
everyone listening, I invite you to practice this simple 3-minute practice every day, every morning, because as we know now, it lasts, that effect can trickles throughout your day. It impacts your whole
Yeah.
day, shifts your whole day, how you show up, how you move through the world, how you act, how you respond in situations from a place of love, from your heart rather than the mind and the conditioning and the fears. So
Yeah.
take that practice, like practice it in the morning, make it part of your morning routine before you do anything else. Do it for a week and see how it shifts, how you feel, your internal reality. And if you do it longer than a week, trust me, it will shift your external reality as well. It is
It
so
does.
powerful. I think I've honestly been I've been learning from you about this technique and have been doing it, but even before, I feel like I kind of intuitively did a lot of that because in my meditations, I always felt called to put a hand on my heart. It's just something I've
And
always done in a
your
way, and then
body
of course,
knew.
like
Your
breathing.
body knew
Yeah,
already.
it's just like, yeah, so I love how intuitive and simple this practice is and how powerful and as you know, we're all about the science behind it. So it's science backed, y'all. It's a science backed
Yeah.
proven
Mhm.
method. So yeah, I encourage you all listening to really try that out. Give it a shot. See how you feel and it will shift your entire mood, your how you feel, your relationships over time. It's so beautiful and so needed in this world right now as we mentioned to bring it back to where we started. It's there's full the world is full of change, of uncertainty, of injustice and just a
Yeah.
lot of heartbreak too, right? We're having to move through so much right now and so many challenges for so many people. And it's more important than ever to learn to connect and harmonize our heart and brain again and to learn how to lead and act and be more from our heart than our brain. So, yeah,
Exactly.
thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on the show, for sharing your
Thank you,
wisdom.
Anna.
You have so much knowledge in this field. I know we could go on forever. Maybe we'll do another quantum physics nerdy
Let's
episode in
do
the
that.
future.
Let's do that.
I could go deep into it. But yeah, for today, let's wrap it up and let one last question I always love to ask, a quick fire question. One last piece of wisdom that you want to leave our listeners with for anyone who wants to live a life that is more radiant, that feels more like them, that feels more aligned and coherent.
Mm, what a good question. You're leaving me with a reflection now.
Hmm.
I think it comes to community and connection. Share what you have on your heart.
Mm,
Ask, ask to others like, hey, this is what I'm going through. First, actually, there is so much just in that question, right? Because most of the time we just don't even know what is happening. And again, that's where emotional intelligence comes in, to know, to identify what is happening, to know how to express it, to communicate it, to know how to regulate it, to know how to manage it. But yeah, to go back to your question, ask around, ask for
yeah.
help, ask for experience, listen to others. We are all mirrors of each other because we come from the same source. We are just one. So the people that are in your life are not there by coincidence. They are there for a reason and they tell you something about yourself. So
Mm,
if they are there, reach out, ask, ask to listen to an experience, stay curious, stay
mm,
curious, and yeah, learning to navigate change, because curiosity is going to lead you in new ways, in unknown ways, and in amazing discoveries that also mean new, uncertain. And that's where the heart and the courage and accepting more uncertainty are really, really, really helpful. But more than that, share around you. You never know how your words and your experience can impact or mean something to the person in front of you. It can be life changing. It can be the final authorization that they needed for themselves to allow themselves to do something. And yeah, just that. Share around, ask around, and
Yes.
stay curious.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful words to wrap it up. Connection. Connection is so important. It's the core of
Mm,
everything. I
yeah.
love that, Vanessa. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to link your Instagram so people can follow along. Yeah, I know you post so much beautiful content about the topics we talked about. I will link your episode and your podcast as well if people want to have the guided heart
Yes.
coherence meditation, so y'all can have the guided version as well. We will link it all in the show notes. So, yeah, thank you again for coming on. I'm sending you so much love over to Mexico. And of course, if anyone listening is ever visiting Puerto Escondido, give Vanessa a
You know who to
visit.
reach
Drop
out.
by. You know who to reach out.
Yeah, well, happy to have you over here. There is a lot of
Mm,
magic.
so much magic.
Thank you, Anna.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bye.